Hi everyone, this is Robin Clare with Tributaries, and we are back this week with Professor John Searl. Last week we reintroduced Professor Searl's devices, the SearlFX generator and the anti-gravity disc. Professor Searl has spent his lifetime literally following his dreams, which have been the creation of these two devices. With a varied background in electronics, medicine, and flight, his discoveries lead us into the future we want, clean and simple. Stay tuned. This is Tributaries. John, it's nice to speak with you again.
Yes, it's nice to hear your voice once again.
Now, not unlike many inventors, you were inspired by dreams, and since they began when you were quite young, how long a time was it between having the dreams and interpreting them into your technology?
It took a good 10 years, and then it was an accident more than, shall we say, something that you were planning. It's the work I was doing that threw up a question, and that question made me look at the dreams.
And what question did it bring?
Well, I was started as an apprentice in electrical engineering, and the bucket I was taken to the stores had a tube and a little tube at the back top of it, and I asked the foreman, "What does this mean?" And he said, 2 squares. I said, "Well, surely there's some meaning, some value." He said, "No, that's how we do it. You just carry on." And of course, from that moment, the word square and the dream of squares really made me start studying the squares. And then I found the answer was a mathematical problem, which applied to everything on Earth and in the universe. It was a solution that solved the problems of Newton and Einstein as one solution instead of 2 separate solutions.
Right. Now, do you believe then that Newtonian physics still hold true today, or did it completely just slam it out into the past and now we've got the present and the future?
Well, the way I see it is that everybody worked on ideas to try to solve the solution. The solution of the squares of the law is that there is a standard rule for everything. And if you've got a concept of structure here in nature, then if such a structure could occur elsewhere, it will. It's a natural thing.
Now, it seems like you started getting written up in the press in the 1970s. Were they picking up on your work with the free energy device or the anti-gravity flying machine?
Well, over the years, the flying side was the interest side. As far as I can remember, only one evening paper quoted the domestic generator, and that's the only time. It seems to be the flying side that interested the press.
Now, why don't you give us a little bit of a background? I know some people didn't get to tune in when we were speaking with one of your partners, John Thomas, last week, and I think we should just give a basic overview of your SearlFX generator, for instance.
Yeah. Well, the SearlFX generator, when you see it running, it looks so simple. But it's like superconductivity. There's a thin line. You either got it or you don't have it. With superconductivity, if the temperature changes, you lost it. In this generator, temperature doesn't make any difference because once it's on superconductivity, it remains there till you apply a force to to stop it.
And what is that force you use to stop it?
Well, in this case, we have to use an oscillator circuit to generate the frequency that is printed on the plates. When you turn the oscillator on, the poles on the plate disappear, and therefore no force is acting on the rollers and they stop.
Right.
When you turn the oscillator off, the poles remember where they were and return, and the roller starts running again. So you can turn it off and you can turn it on, but in normal use, there really is no need to turn it off. It can carry on running because if you do not use energy from it, it just cruise, fully charged, ready for when you demand power again.
Now, something I wanted to speak about perhaps later, but it seems like we're here now. Can you speak about some of the benefits that you are aware of regarding the SearlFX generator?
Well, the beauty of this generator is that it's definitely clean. It does not make any pollution. It has no maintenance requirements, and it costs you basically nothing to run. Now, in principle, if you're using it in your house as your power source, the room operates in a negative state, opposite to what your room is operating at this time. That means you've got a healthier condition. The air contains more oxygen than you have at this moment. Secondly, gas falls to the ground. Bacteria and things like viruses means that they're down on the carpet to be vacuumed up. If you get burnt, then because the room is at a negative state and cooler to your feelings, the wound does not get so painful, and it heals much quicker. In the car, that means you can hop in no matter what the weather conditions are, switch on, and away you go. No stopping to refuel, no recharging of a battery, and no pollution. That would save the world. A high cost in bad health, because cleaner air means better health. For flight, it would mean that fares would be cheaper, and if we go into space, the price of operating in space would certainly drop immensely, bringing it more into a commercial operation than at present with the rocket technology.
Right. Well, there are a lot of those out there that aren't quite ready for anyone going out into space.
Now, at the moment, let's face it, rocketry is a rather expensive idea and dangerous. I realize that there are certain people that are looking forward to space travel, but they need the cost to come down. And at the moment, I cannot see the cost coming down by rocketry to a point where anyone can go for a flight in space. The IGV, on the other hand, is something completely different. Because it does not need to carry fuel, as rockets need, it means that the cost to go into space is cheaper. Secondly is, because you've got no explosive material on board, there's no risk of an explosion taking place on the outward journey. Again, on the return journey, because the craft can hover before touching the atmosphere, it can just slice in without generating this immense heat. So there's a lot of benefits, health-wise, economics, and it would open a new world for everyone, because for the first time, we can put people in jobs in the desert, on the poles, because we have the energy where you want it, and we do not need roads for transport system. This is what this concept gives everyone: freedom of movement, cheapness of travel, speed. These are the critical things for business.
Now, Professor Searl, something that I really didn't think about before, but suppose we moved into the time where we were traveling in this manner, we would need the towers up so no one would be crashing into each other if there were a lot of these devices around. And yet I know somehow there is some kind of repelling that goes on. How does that all work?
Yes, that's true. From the point of cars, you can make the bumpers on the cars act as reactive plates. So if a vehicle is passing you, you cannot pull out and hit it. Again, you cannot hit the vehicle in front of you for the same reason. You get repulsion effects, pushing you away from the vehicle in front. This is a big advantage. We could do away with traffic lights because things could slide in. And because your lighting system on board could be much better than now, because they could be at mains part, your headlights. And people on holiday, this would be a great thing. You've got power at mains level. You can use your own kitchen goods. Take them with you. Save you having to buy specialized cookers and things just to go on holiday to cook your meals. You can have the units you have in the house.
Now, basically, it sounds like you're speaking about the same technology for the free energy device and for the flying device.
Yes, the power drive is the same, except the power unit for flying is a bit more complicated, but the theory is precisely the same. The operation is exactly the same. It's just that the machine itself is much bigger, very heavy, and it needs to be to deliver the type of power needed for traveling in through the atmosphere and out into space, because out into space is at home.
Right. Well, that's a whole other story, I'm sure, going out into space than even flying from London to New York, for instance. Now, it seems like you told me in the past that the folks in New Zealand were picking up on your work, and at one time they were going to sponsor you, and then they didn't.
Yes. People start to sponsor you, and then for some reason they want to take it as theirs. That's the problem I seem to be hitting all the time. It's a shame because the power unit should have been in the shops years ago. But the same thing just happened again. People suddenly realise how much money value is here, and they take it for themselves. They think they know how they can do it, so they do not need me. Unfortunately, it involves mathematics, which is extremely complex. Unless you understand them, you cannot do this job.
Now, what do you think it was about New Zealand that actually sparked their interest where you couldn't get interest in the United States or somewhere else? Are they more savvy to what's going on with the world of UFOs or interspace travel or anything like that, do you think? Or were they just being more practical and looking for a good solution to a major problem?
Well, I think the truth is that a lot of money has been spent on energy technology, and they need to see some profits back from this before they look at another technology. In flight, of course, we've just seen the end of supersonic flight for passengers. But I don't really think that's the end, because if somebody really backed this work, we could have supersonic flights back again at a very cheap rate. If we're looking at London to New York, 30 minutes, even 20 minutes, you're probably looking at a fare of about £50. You would have thousands of people all want to come to New York to look at New York, and vice versa. You would have thousands of people in New York who want to look at London. So it would be a good business. Again, of course, you haven't got that noise. That's another beauty about this machine. And, of course, the generator is also silent in operation.
Now, what would it feel like being in a flight from London to New York, for instance?
Well, in the past, all the tests we've done with sensors says you wouldn't know you was moving. You would have no idea that you actually left the ground, that you actually have landed in another area, because everything on board relates, like if you're sitting here, as I am talking to you, that you're just sitting here. You're in a world of your own. That's what the indicators show on the graphs, that you have no idea of motion.
Now, what experiments did you do to come to this conclusion?
But we've done 41 vehicles, models in the past, where we had equipment set on board by companies like Mallard Limited, which was a big company in those days, and we sent the craft out. Sensors would record on charts all the sensations, and then Mallard would examine the graphs and tell us the results. And the results was that it appears that the craft internal is about half a G and remains that at all times in flight. No matter how you turn or twist, half a G remains. That would mean that you would have really no feeling of motion in travel.
Now, what could you relate to that to give us an idea about a half a G? I mean, what does an airplane have now? Or because I know in reading your literature, you talk about something can turn at 25 Gs, and people are saying that's impossible. You can't have people in something like that.
In conventional field, you're subject to gravity. You are, in all aircraft and space vehicles, related to the Earth. So if you do certain things, the Earth lets you know it does not like you doing that. With this craft, you're in a planet, you're really a planet of your own. Everything inside of it relates to the inside of that vehicle, not to Earth. No effects whatsoever between Earth and craft takes place. So you do not feel motion. There's no sensation of motion.
Now, going back, you've just given us the benefits of both the generator and the anti-gravity device. And I'm wondering, when you're lecturing or speaking to various groups, are you coming across people that are getting your work right away and or have similar experimentations going on?
Well, the whole purpose of lectures is to first interest people in the technology, to want it. Certainly is, of course, we're looking for people to join us, to finance us and help us to get it to the marketplace. Engineers and scientists to join us to make a full-out effort to get this to the marketplace. That's the real purpose. That's still the same today. We want to get real good people together, scientists, engineers and that, to work with us to get this technology to the marketplace as quick as possible. And the way I look at it, if 20 million people sent $1, that's all that would be needed. This technology would be on the marketplace probably within 12 months.
Well, that's what I was wondering, what kind of time frame, if someone said, okay, bare bones, John, I want to see you make a generator so we can show people, and so you go out and you buy all of the things you need and you get it together and make it. Would it take 12 months to actually build something?
Well, yes, because what we're finding that in the UK and certainly in Germany and in America, I believe, the sort of equipment needed is not available. The cost of materials are very high. We find that we need to get the materials from China to get the price down. And that is where we are sort of targeting our efforts to find manufacturers in China who could press out the component parts that we need for quickness. Then we do the magnetizing in whichever country comes up with the ideal workshop.
Right. Now, what natural elements are you in need of in order to create this?
Well, I feel that we should keep to what we've been playing with. Neodymium, carbon, iron boron mixture, and copper would be better than aluminium. That's what we're really looking at, that sort of materials.
And they're all pretty readily available, that's true. Yeah.
Well, they are, but they're so expensive in England and Europe and in the States. China seems to be the only place, and I will admit I've seen some of the work done for us, and they've been really first-class workmanship, whereby materials done in Stockholm in Sweden have not been very good.
Were you surprised by that?
Yes, I was, because we've made up conditions absolute plain, what we needed. Then to find holes, 3 holes actually, large holes, in the magnetic layer that we had to magnetize. It was just ridiculous. And I believe John Thomas ran into problems with materials he's ordered in the States, that they either came with the wrong weight. They'd done it to the size, but the density of the materials that they produced was not the densities they gave him. So the measurements for the densities that they used were wrong. And therefore, the goods have to be sent back to the manufacturer to correct. In the case of Stockholm, I'm afraid we were not able to get it sent back to them.
Now, I would think that there would be some interest sparked at universities, for instance.
Well, I thought there would be students and that. This ought to be great fun for them to have a go, a challenge, to try to produce this, what looks like a very simple machine. Yet it's not. It's complex. It's a challenge to the mind. But it should be the type of thing young students ought to be keen on.
Certainly, you have done so much in your lifetime with just these 2 devices, and I'm wondering if there's anything else, any other inventions that you've sort of started also that we're not aware of yet.
Well, they are, but at the moment I do not put priority on them. I put priority on the SEG for real power, because that's now a problem due to pollution.
Right.
But there are ideas we have from past experiments of the battery for toys. But that's something I would, prefer to deal with much later in life. I'd like to see these key issues that would clean the pollution up in operation. Hospitals having this type of power system would mean burn units. People would be in better health condition in such rooms. They would have less pain and they would heal quicker. It's a shame that we cannot get a medical grant to help us to produce this generator to put into a burns unit to prove that what I say is true. It does speed up healing, I know, because I was severely burnt in an explosion, and I healed very quick. And I was not in the pain that people have when they get burnt.
Right. Now, it's obviously been such an amazing uphill climb for you to try to advance your systems into our world, and I'm wondering what does your day look like? How do you function in every day getting up and saying, okay, we're going to get closer today?
Well, we were very close until misfortune struck for the 4th time, and I lost everything. Unfortunately, I had been put into hospital, so I couldn't do nothing about it. What I'd like to see now is a home with a nice workshop to it, where I got decent people around me and we get this job done. I don't really think I'm asking too much when I ask, surely somebody got a home that they can offer, that has a good workshop in it, and there's some decent people to help you to get this job done.
Right.
Let's get it done. Let's get it on the market. Let us all benefit, because it'll take about 10 years before we really get benefits from it, because the pollution level is so bad at this time.
Right, but it certainly would start working right away, I understand.
Yes.
How do you see these latest solar flares and their effects on the electromagnetics here on Earth, either the natural ones or the man-made?
The natural ones, that's another thing I'm sort of concerned about. We can expect these to increase as the Earth magnetic field gets less and less. We can suffer more and more from these effects. This is why this technology is so vital to get it out there, because power stations go down. We've just seen the problem in New York, Canada, where this happens. Now, surely anything that might save that happening is worth looking at, even just to look at, to see if we can do something about it.
Right. Now, what's causing the lack of electromagnetics in our Earth?
But, sorry, I'm not quite sure if I got your message right.
I thought that you said just now, as we see the Earth's electromagnetics go down, or were you talking about instances like in New York, or were you talking about our actual...
No, the actual magnetic donut around the Earth is weakening. It's getting much weaker. Now, that means more outer space energies can strike the Earth. And we've got to expect power stations to feel the effects of this.
What causes that, the weakness?
Well, we don't know why the Earth is losing its magnetic strength.
Is it an age?
No, we don't think it's anything to do with age. Scientists expected this donut to last for many centuries. But satellites are showing a different picture. And this is a bit concerning to me, whether this technology can be got out there to replace big power stations, because the big power stations are the ones that are going to suffer when you get big flares.
Yes, I certainly think you are correct there. Well, Professor Searl, I think we are almost out of time for today, and I just want to encourage you to keep going, and I thank you so much, not only for your time today, but for your life's dedication to bettering our lives.
Well, let's hope that maybe I shall come to the States.
Well, we would look forward to that.
Right. Thank you very much for your time.
And now I'd like to let everyone know that they can reach Searl's website by going to SearlFX, SEARL effect.com. And, or you can go to tributariesradio.org for guest information or to listen to our archive shows at your convenience. This is Robin Clare. Thanks for staying tuned.